Welcome to Commander Chumps with the Nitpicking Nerds.
This time we're upgrading our patron pool party's Marrow Gnawer Relentless Rats deck.
I'm your host, Joe Cherries.
I'm your host, Beezy. This is Amber, and that makes us the Nitpicking Nerds, bringing you daily Commander content. How many channels out there are bringing you daily Magic content? If you want to support this one for doing that, patreon.com is the best way, and there's a link in the description. And since we make a video every single day, I can wish you all a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, everybody. If you want to support us indirectly, you can use the TCGplayer link in the description below. Go to the link, click it, go to the website. Now, you can buy whatever you want, literally whatever Magic stuff you want off of that website, spending the exact same amount of money you would spend anyway, but the nerds get a kickback in TCGplayer. Get your business.
And the same is true for DragonShield.com. EU or US links are in the description. You can go buy the best frickin' sleeves in the multiverse.
Good friggin' sleeves.
This was 2003. Those sleeve values would skyrocket.
Yes, because they're really going with the edgier new slogan here.
Yeah, they really went for an edgelord slogan. Amber approves of it. Let's get to the video, shall we? What's a Commander tune-up?
Commander Tune-Up is where we take your patron submitted deck and under your restrictions, upgrade the deck. Today, our restrictions are, well, no budget, so we can put whatever we want in money-wise, and we have to, the only stipulation for a card to keep in Echoing Return. That's going to be easy enough. It's only one card. We can definitely keep it in.
As we said before, this is a Marrow Gnawer and Relentless Rats deck, so we got to read those cards before we can say anything about the deck. Marrow Gnawer is 3 black for a 2/3 rat rogue. All rats have fear. Tap, sacrifice a rat, create X 1/1 black rat creature tokens, where X is the number of rats you control.
And then there's Relentless Rats, 1 black for a 2/2. It gets +1/+1 for each other Relentless Rat you control. Now, usually, this would be terrible in the Commander format, but as a second line of text, it says you can play any number of Relentless Rats in your deck.
Yep, so how many do we end up with in this deck?
Well, 30. I ended up cutting a couple from the original list, but not many.
So the theme of the deck, obviously, we're spamming Relentless Rats. A third of our cards are Relentless Rats, so we're going to be okay if we have a couple of those in play. And just rats in general. We got tribal payoffs, Marrow Gnawer wants rats, sacrifice rats, make rats, rats.
Yes, and the game plan of this deck overall is to flood the board with Relentless Rats, and if they die, bring them all back at once to make a ridiculous board state.
Before we talk about the changes we made, we got to get to the best cards already in the deck, and this first one takes it to just a whole nother level. It's Thrumming Stone. All of your spells are going to have Ripple 4, so whenever we cast Relentless Rats, we get to look for another Relentless Rats in the top 4. If we find one, probably will, we're going to cast it for free and start the whole thing over. So it's basically like a non-deterministic scenario where we're going to end up with most of our rats in play, and then we're going to chuck them at people or attack for lethal.
Yes, obviously the best card in this entire deck. You get this, it's tough for you to lose because you're going to just spew so much value onto the board. We also have Piper this one, which is actually really cool in this deck. It is a 1/3 for 2 that taps to make a rat, or it can sacrifice a bunch of rats, 3 of them to be exact, and get you a creature from the other players. This is going to be super strong in this deck. We don't want to necessarily sack a Relentless Rats, but all of our Marrow Gnawer rats that are just, well, we'll sack a dumb rat, get 10 more rats, 3 useless, take 3 of the useless ones, and turn them into the best creature on the battlefield.
Oh, and let's just take your commander. Your deck's probably going to function a little bit worse without it, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Also, we have Species Specialist. We have 30 of the exact same card. They're all rats. Our commander's a rat. There's at least 3 other rats in this deck. So, Species Specialist is going to be great. We're going to name rats, and whenever a rat dies, we're going to draw a card.
Well, plus stupid tokens. And I think Species Specialist has proven to be amazing. I had a tribal deck with it, and there was times when I just didn't even name my tribe because there was more goblins in play. And it still draws me cards.
There are more Thopters. I mean, I was only playing a Brea deck, but Brea makes 2 Thopters, and it's just like, well, they're useless. You're probably going to kill them soon.
Yeah, just make some cards. We also have Coat of Arms. This is a no-brainer. It's just all of our rats get +X/+X, where X is our rats. That's ludicrous amounts of rats damage. No one can stop it. It's kind of like a one-hit kill.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so stupid. Relentless Rats already do this to each other, make themselves stupidly big. Why not just do it again? I mean, if you have 5 Relentless Rats, you have lethal if they don't have blocks. You just have lethal with
it's pretty crazy.
That. And last but not least is Thornbite Staff. It's just a 2-card combo. If we put it on our commander, tap it, sacrifice a rat, get a bunch of rats, untap it, do it over and over and over again. It's infinite rats. But it fits really well with the theme of the deck. The whole idea is win with rats. And that's what it does.
I don't think there's any other card that this wins with. So it's not like, throwing Dramatic Scepter into some spicy deck. It's like, we have to win with rats. Yep. There's nothing else to do.
We're doing the rat thing. So before we get into the adds and cuts, we're going to go 1 for 1 like we did in our last video. Very important to state, I cut a lot of very good cards. the staples, because this deck does not have a lot of flex slots. There are, basically I said there's 30 Relentless Rats, and I'm leaving at least 30 Relentless Rats in this deck. That means I'm only working with 70% of the deck that I can change up, really.
And I would argue way less than that, because we're mono black. We have a Cabal Coffer's mana base. That's already in there. You really have like 30 cards.
Yeah, and because of that, it led me to cut a lot of staples to make this deck more thematic. So this deck might technically not be as strong because I did cut staples, but God, is it a lot more thematic.
Well, yeah, that's part of the problem. You start with a goal, and you're like, I want to Relentless Rats people out. It's like, well, we kind of have to adhere to that goal. So we're not going to make like a tier 1 CDH deck that's already out the window. But we can make a deck that reliably wins with Relentless Rats. This is like a tongue twister video.
So the very first cut, I cut Necropotence for a more synergistic draw piece. Necropotence will be fine in this deck, but this deck doesn't have many ways, if any, to gain life. Like, it's very low on it, meaning that Necropotence can start being a liability because we have other ways to pay life. But a one-time thing like Pact of the Serpent, where we do lose life, but it's only one time, is going to be much better for our deck.
I think there's going to be a recurring theme of our tune-up here is going to, more so than other ones, make this deck more fun. I think part of the issue end up with Necropotence because we have such, the deck is pretty weak overall, except for when we have one of our two bangers that are like basically infinite combo game overs, Thorming Stone and Thornbite Staff. So if I'm going to play Necropotence on turn 5 and then draw 20 cards and discard all my rats or whatever until I find one of the combo pieces and then just combo out, it's like, is that like the spirit of the deck? Maybe. And you can always ignore some of these changes, which is why we like listing them individually. But I think Pact of the Serpent's going to do you better.
I'm being completely honest. I don't think Necropotence is good in this deck. Because of how it came in and how it's built, we would have to make a bunch of different little changes to make Necropotence functionally good in this deck. Because we want to put everything in our graveyard. So if we want to draw 30 cards, per se, discarding them to exile is really bad for us. And on top of that, without life gain and not really drawing for a turn, we're just going to end up in trouble. This deck is not built and it's rare because Necropotence is so good. You don't need to build for it, but I don't think this deck was built or is built to take advantage of it.
Yeah, when a third of our cards are Relentless Rats, we can't cast all our spells like we might be able to with some combo deck.
Yeah, Pact of the Serpents also, if I didn't mention, draws for our number of rats in the field. Rats, baby.
And then we can discard them if we want.
Yes, exactly. Discarding is key because if we have 10 rats, draw 10 cards, throw 5 of the extra Relentless Rats in the graveyard, we have ways to get them back.
But what's the Citadel? Cut it for Stinging Study. Now we got some more card draw. Marrow Gnawer is a solid 5-drop, so it's just 5 mana, 5 cards, 5 life. Help making up for that. But what's the Citadel is like card advantage plus like mana advantage, and Stinging Study is just card advantage. We're going to get more rats in our hand.
Yeah, we're going to get more answers. I just don't, again, one of the issues I'm just going to come back to for this deck is we don't have life gain at all. Like, I'm not saying you need a ton of life gain to make Ball Citadel good. The card's just amazing.
It's great.
But with no life gain, I'm pretty much like, okay, that's a little worse of a card. Now if I draw out late game at like 15 life, it's pretty bad.
I guess we don't really have any combos or synergy with it. You don't need synergy with it, but we're not like really juiced up to take advantage of it, other than just being a great card.
Our average mana value is also high.
What is it?
It's we'll get to it at the end.
Oh yeah,
we'll get to it, but it's over 3. When you're playing Relentless Rats, they all cost 3. It's unlikely you're going to be under 3 for that.
That would be impressive. Font of Mythos is gone in favor of Herald's Horn, which is going to reduce our rats by 1. Really key if we can pay 2 mana for Relentless Rats instead of 3. Now we can't reduce it anymore because they all cost black pips after that. But that's a big deal, and I'm taking the first one.
Yeah, exactly. It's really insane to reduce it from 3 to 2. That's such a huge cost difference. I think Font of Mythos is just a bad Magic card.
This is the group hug card, right?
It's the group hug card. Everyone draws 2 extra cards on their draw step.
Yeah, I
think this card is actively very bad in Commander, and if your deck is not a group hug deck, specifically, only that archetype, I would never play this. I think this card is actively very bad.
I think it'll decrease your win percentage for sure.
100%. Next, we cut Decree of Pain, which is an 8-mana board wipe. You draw equal to the creature's destroyed. Big, splashy, cool card. Also cycles for something, but much better. Kindred Dominance. We're going to name a rat. Destroy everything that's not a rat. That's a one-sided board wipe. That's going to be much better for this deck than, another card we just cut, Plague Wind, which was in the deck. We can get Plague Wind on Kindred Dominance. It just works out perfectly for us when we change Plague Wind into Dictate of Erebos, which is going to help us work the board. We're an on-board deck. We don't have a ton of ways to sack our creatures, so we're not able to weaponize this as well as some decks. But our rats are beating in over and over again, and people, if they're just chumping, okay, that's fine. But they want to try and trade off with your rats. They don't just want to let you beat them up all game, meaning your rats dying is going to cause lots of creatures to die.
Plus, Marrow Gnawer always gets 1, so you have like a free Fleshbag Marauder kind of every turn as a baseline,
Mm-hmm.
and then anything else is kind of gravy on top. This is a Relentless Rats deck, all right? We're not going to break the power barriers on here.
Yeah.
But we did cut, we talked about a graveyard theme. We actually cut Living Death from this deck. Patriarch's Bidding already in there, but we cut Living Death because we were like going over this over and over. And we're like, how are we supposed to get rats in the graveyard? We don't have the space to get rats in the graveyard. We'd have to change like every other card that isn't Relentless Rats to get this working because Living Death helps everybody, but we feel like we're going to be helped the least.
Relentless Rats has no way. 30 cards in this deck have no way of putting cards in the graveyard reliably. So with that being said, we can't, if we build the whole rest of the deck to do it, sure, then Living Death's great. But that's not what we want with the rest of the deck, so that's just out. Coming into place, Haunting Voyage. It's going to be another basic Patriarch's Bidding. You always want to suspend this thing.
Foretell it.
Foretell. You always want to foretell this thing if you can, so then you can cast it for 6 and get back all your rats to the battlefield.
Yep, and we're going to have ways to use that later. Next up, it may be a surprising cut because it is a rat tribal payoff. It's Rat Catcher. You're going to Demonic Tutor for a rat every turn, but this thing's so expensive, and we only have like 7 or 8 different named rats. I would rather just pay half the mana and just get Relentless Rats in play right now.
Yeah, exactly. Rat Catcher is not versatile enough. There's not enough different kinds of rats to get, so if we're just always tutor, I would say that a Demonic Tutor that gets you, a Phyrexian Arena that gets me Relentless Rats every turn, I'm not playing that. I'm not even close to playing that, especially at 6 mana.
Yeah, double the price. So we added Sir Conrad, who notably is not a rat, but in my headcanon, he's a crazy person who loves rats just for this purpose. He's going to help everybody mill, which is great because we want rats in the graveyard. It's like one of the only ways we have to squeeze that in there. But then also, when our rats die or when stuff happens, we get to actually damage them.
Yes. Something I want to point out, this next one's going to seem like a crazy person was upgrading the deck. But
it is.
I cut Demonic Tutor. And I will explain right now that if we're playing Demonic Tutor and any other of these generically good tutors, what will happen almost every game is we will tutor up Thrumming Stone or we will tutor up Thornbite Staff. You will get one of those 2 cards. You will put your combo together. It'll either get destroyed or you'll win the game. That's going to happen every game. Now, for that you're doubling the chances of that happening when you add in these tutors. You're making it happen way more. Like, it's cool to like, I got the Thrumming Stone. You guys got the answer sometimes. But like, I don't like doubling those chances. And so we cut Demonic Tutor for a different tutor, actually. It's kind of funny. We went to Expedition Map. Now, I think this deck is super... It is a heavy mana deck. It's reliant on getting a lot of mana. We want Copal Coffers every single game, or Nykthos, one of these lands. So this doesn't lead to the samey play patterns, but it lets you get your mana, and you can keep, I'm making lots of mana. I'm doing my rat things that I drew instead of just always going for the same game plan.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about Relentless Rats deck and a rat tribal deck, we're already talking about like a certain power level. And I think when you have all the like hyper efficient tutors and the best way to win in your deck, which, is 1 in 100, well, you kind of take it so that your deck is either operating sort of below the power level that I would think it's going to be at, where you're just like, rat. Okay, go ahead. Rat. All right, go ahead. Rat. Oh, board wipe. Start over. Or you're like, untap combo win. And it's like, wait, what? Huh? This is the what deck? And so it's just like, it feels like a weird dissonance going on. So we're personally going to trim Demonic Tutor and Vampiric Tutor. And Vampiric Tutor is going to get cut for Altar of Dementia. Now, this is how you kill people with rats. This actually adds another layer of winning to the deck. Because once you have a bunch of rats in play, we're black. So we really can't get haste that easily. There's like 5 cards that could ever do it. And Chroma's Memorial's in here. This is a pseudo way of giving haste. So if you put 17 Relentless Rats into play, well, they all get plus 16, and then Altar of Dementia can easily mill out 1 or 2, and depending on what you're doing, sometimes 3 players all at the same time.
Yeah, it also pays off our Infinite Rats right away.
Yep.
That infinite combo that we talked about earlier with Thornbite Staff. It weaponizes our rats in a different way than just going for a combat win. We love to have that in the deck. It's not an infinite combo. It's not going off in this deck, like killing everyone all the time. But if you get 10 Relentless Rats back with like a Haunting Voyage, they're all on the battlefield. Okay, Coat of Arms. All right, now the power. It's game over. You can actually mill everyone out from there.
Yeah, just one of the problems. We're trying to skip a turn, right? We don't want to have to go, here's all my rats, pass. We want to just like give them haste and attack and kill somebody right away. So we have the Altar as a pseudo haste enabler to win that turn instead of having to wait an entire another turn.
Yes.
And with Sir Conrad, this isn't even fair.
Sir Conrad's great.
It's not even fair. Like, that's just game over.
It is. I mean, it's going to make them lose life when they're milling over creatures so strong. Next, a card that is very cute in the deck and is a little synergistic, but it's not that good. It's Infernal Tutor, which is 1 in the black. If you're Hellbent, it's Demonic Tutor. But if you're not Hellbent, you reveal a card from your hand and you go get another one out of your deck. so we can reveal a Relentless Rats, get another Relentless Rats, but we're never going to be hellbent. It's just, we at least we don't want to be.
Right.
Our goal is never to be hellbent realistically.
And the whole point of playing so many Relentless Rats is to always have them. But this is kind of just like a 5-mana Relentless Rats instead of just a 3-mana Relentless Rats.
It's a 5-mana Relentless Rats that 1% of the time is Demonic Tutor. No, thank you. I don't want that.
Yeah, I think what you actually would want to do if you want this many Relentless Rats is just cut it for Relentless Rats. But we didn't do that. We cut it for Chittering Witch, another way to make rats sacrifice creatures, which is nice because we have some cards that care about that kind of stuff. And it's just like removal plus rats on a body. Like, that's great. I mean, rat cards are not very good, so this is a good one.
Well, besides anything, this is 4 mana, make 4 bodies. That is a great rate.
Yeah, 4 mana, 4 bodies, 3 rats.
Yeah, which is great.
So this deck was kind of, since it had so many Relentless Rats, lacking in the ramp, the card draw, and the removals. So we had to kind of work that in while not cutting too many rats. It was a really interesting challenge. So for ramp here, I have never been impressed with Black Market. And we know that I am not a fan of waiting for my payoffs on cards. And this is like both of those. It's really slow.
I have been impressed with Black Market before. But that being said, I don't think it's very good.
Yeah.
It is a card that can easily impress you. Because when it does its thing, it's ridiculous. It makes a crazy amount of mana. And if you can use all that mana, that's obviously going to be insane. I don't like waiting. I don't like putting this on the battlefield. I don't think when this card, the main issue is when this card loads up, everyone can see that it's locked and loaded and ready to go. And it's going to get removed a lot of the time before it does anything useful.
And I would argue that even if you had a Black Market emblem with this deck, it still wouldn't be as busted as that sounds because we can barely, like obviously a free emblem is, but follow the analogy. We could barely take advantage. We don't have enough sack outlets. We're not Viscera Searing. Alter Dimension's like the only one we could squeeze in.
Yes. So what we did add was Bantu's Monument. All of our black creatures cost 1 less. I don't care about the other text in this card, even though it is okay. All of our creatures costing 1 less is so good in this deck.
Critical.
Our Relentless Rats going from 3 to 2 mana is so strong. And this is already the second effect we've seen that we've put in that can do this.
Yeah, and if you play Bantu's Monument on 3, we can probably follow it up with Rat, which is now tapping for 2 mana at once, and that's sort of a mana rock that doesn't exist. And we also get a Drain 2 on top of it because we cast 2 creature spells.
What do you mean, BZ? We have Worn Power Stone.
No, it's better. It would be the same, but we drain them for 2. We drain them for 2.
And it's better. It's much better.
It's way better. Yeah, your Worn Power Stone. Continuing on with ramp, we got Extra Planar Lens, and I always lump this together with like the big mana doublers because it's a 2-for-1 setup on this card. It doesn't do anything on like turn 3 or 4, or really 5. You kind of got to wait, and then it starts to do something. So I don't really it's not reliable early game ramp. Let's get Jet Medallion in here. Let's reduce all our black spells forever. If we double spell ever, this is a 2-mana rock that makes 2 mana, and that's insane. And this healing's way higher than that.
And another thing this card makes you do on top of being this 2-for-1 that when it gets destroyed, you always get 2-for-1, makes you play more basics than I even want to play in my Cabal Coffers decks. I want to play like 20, maybe 21 basics in my Cabal Coffers deck. This makes you go above that. I'm not interested.
Even if it was the same, I think I'm still off this.
That's completely fair. Jet Medallion's obviously completely insane. Literally any colored spell in their deck is getting reduced.
Yeah, so Cage Stun kind of falls into ramp, but I think it's basically overkill, and I'm really not interested. I'd rather have something cheap and efficient. This deck just so happened to have no Soul Ring in it, so guess what? Now it's in there. So if you have a restriction, I would still play Mind Stone or one of the Arcane Signets over Cage Stun. I don't think you're actually really ramping at a time that's important. Like turn 2 would be really important.
Yes. So actually, we talk about not liking these effects many times, like the Cage Stuns, the Extra Planar Lenses. There's other effects sort of like this. The one we do like and that we left in the deck was Cryptcast. I think that is the spot where this effect is good. Like, not only does it give you the double mana is good. It on top of that gives you a way to use that extra mana. That is the best one of this effect that we've ever seen. All right, I cut Pack Rat from this deck. I don't think this card is good in this deck whatsoever. Actually, no. It's not that's not good in this deck. It says it's not good in Commander, period.
Agreed.
So I put in Patron of the Nezumi, which is a cool 6/6. It's got Rat Offering if you want to sacrifice a rat. But whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard, they're losing 1 life. Fits the theme perfectly. It's the patron of the old rats of Kamigawa.
Definitely a flavor win. It's not the strongest card in the world, but this isn't the strongest deck in the world.
I mean, it's flavor. This deck is very flavorful in winning through the rats. The rats worship this patron, this kami. They worship it, and it helps them to win games. Come on now.
And it has a gross face. There's also Throat Slitter. That's a ninja though, and we don't need ninja rats, and we're not trying to we have no synergies with returning, and we have plenty of removal. Nashi Moonsage's Scion. There we go. Now that's a ninja that we want a ninjutsu. See, now we're not interested in ninjutsuing for 1 or whatever this cost is. We want a ninjutsu for 3 and draw a card. I read everything ahead.
I know. That's what was making me laugh, that he's talking about how he doesn't want ninjas. I just don't think Throat Slitter is this very good payoff. It's like you get the rat through, you bounce the rat back to your hand, and now you get to destroy a creature. That's okay. But Nashi's hit is so much better. You sneak it through, and then you get to play one of the top spells without paying its mana. Way better, way cooler. Awesomely. I think it's just a strong magic card. It comes down on 3. Sometimes they don't have a blocker on the next turn.
Sometimes you just get them with the Nashi.
We can also play Nashi on turn 1. Mana Crypt was in this deck.
That's true. We got with Mana Crypt still in the deck. We have Whip of Erebos getting cut for Deadly Rog. Whip of Erebos. That would have been some solid life gain. It's like a bajillion oodles of life gain. We can't take advantage of the second ability at all. We're not going to whip back a rat unless we really, really have nothing better to do with our life. Deadly Rock, though, that's cheap. As in 0 mana. Marrow Gnawer is going to be out for most of the game.
So Whip of Erebos was one that I wasn't super sure about. If you do want the life gain and kind of go the other theme of like all of the overpaying on life that I took out, you could put this back in. There isn't many ways to give your whole team lifelink, it turns out, and this is one of them. So if you want to play it, you can go ahead and play it. I'm not going to say that it's the worst card in the deck, but I'm trying to make room, and I know we needed more removal for sure, and that's why Deadly Relic is now in. And next, we cut Damnation out of the deck. It's just a generic board wipe, and we're an on-board deck. We don't want to be wiping the board too often of just creatures. We added in Hagra Mauling, which is a land. I'm mentioning right now because this is the first land we added to this deck. This deck was low on lands. 32 for a 3.6 deck is way too low. I took it all the way up to 36. If we're going to be over 3, I want to have at least 36 lands.
Yeah, 3.2 meaning, or 3.6 meaning the average mana value of the deck. So I definitely support that change. Opposition Agent, kind of just a completely random card that doesn't synergize at all. And I don't think we can afford some of these stapley generic effects, so we cut it out for Snuff Out, which is just fantastic removal. This card is so good. If you're not playing Snuff Out, oh, please play Snuff Out. You will love it. Non-black, forget about it. Doesn't matter. The fact that this card is just free interaction is super good, even if it's only hitting 82% of creatures.
Like, Snuff Out is also just generically good card, but the deck needed removal more than it needed random hoser of
tutor hate. There's no tutor hate section in your deck building templates.
Exactly, yeah. This was lacking removal, so Snuff Out, a great add. We cut Grey Merchant of Asphodel. If you play 30 Relentless Rats, and then you play Gary, did you really win with Relentless Rats? The answer is no.
Yeah, Gary's an insane card. You could absolutely play Gary, and maybe this is going to be like our most controversial commander tune-up of all time. But I'm trying to get in the head of someone who wants to win with Rats/Relentless Rats, and this feels a little different than using my Rats literally to mill somebody. This is like Grey Merchant, drain you for 30. I have Rats in play, but anything in play would have, I don't know. It doesn't gel with me as much, so you can, again, mix and match as you please. But I like Crashing Drawbridge because it's going to give all our creatures haste once we put a bunch of Rats in play for any reason, and then we just win with those.
Yeah, the Crashing Drawbridge is a haste enabler, which is going to be nice for our deck. It's also really nice with our commander who has a tap ability.
Yeah, it shows how desperate we are for haste enablers. I think the only other option you could try is Mogus's Marauders, I think it's called.
Oh, that's an interesting card.
Yeah, remember that from Standard? It's like 2 and a black for a 2/2, and then your Devotion to Black gives that many creatures like Intimidate and Haste.
Yeah, what a random card. Yeah,
what a color pie break.
Yeah, maybe you should try that random card.
But it only works at once, and Crashing Drawbridge is every turn.
Yeah, that's true. Wow, but Crashing Drawbridge, the ability has to wait for a whole turn. Mogus's Marauders works on that turn. Hey, which one's better?
It costs 3 mana, and Crashing Drawbridge is free.
Definitely a discussion.
Let's have it for the rest of the video.
Yes. Next, we cut Door of Destiny. We left in Coat of Arms, and what I like about Coat of Arms over this card is it doesn't matter what order you play things in. Mm-hmm. If the Coat of Arms is on the battlefield first and you play all the rats, okay, they're strong. If the Coat of Arms isn't on the battlefield, all the rats are out, and then you play it, it's fine. Door of Destiny is not like that. You have to go in the order of Door of Destiny, then the rats. But there is also a little upside of like, oh, if it built up a ton of counters and then I play one rat, it can just be a threat by itself. But that's unlikely, and I'm not a huge fan of this card, so we cut it into Bojuka Bog, need another land. Mono black. Every mono black deck, I should play Bojuka Bog. I think that's a fair thing to say.
As long as you're not CDH, you can probably afford a Bojuka Bog. Graveyard Hate is underplayed, I think, at least in our area, so we're going to include Bojuka Bogs. Door of Destinies is a weird one. It's good to have Anthem effects for your tribe. That's, like, necessary. But how many Anthem effects are we playing? Well, kind of like 38, because every Relentless Rats basically says all your other Relentless Rats gets +1/+1. That's basically what it says. and we have a million of them. Like, as long as we have 6 Relentless Rats in play, we have virtual lethal on somebody. I don't know how many Anthems we need, especially where the order matters, where I can't draw this on turn 7 and be happy about it.
Yeah. Well, we also cut Castle Lochthwain. Now, Castle Lochthwain's fine, dandy. It's okay. But War Room is, if we can afford a colorless land in this deck, we definitely have the room. It's way better. We're only ever losing 1 life. Like, when you activate, and it costs the same amount to activate. So, pay the same amount to activate, but it only costs 1 life every time. If there's even 1 card in your hand, Castle Lochthwain's worse.
Yeah, and also, this doesn't matter a ton, but it's double black for Castle Lochthwain activation. War Room is colorless. It's like strictly better in mono black. We were like approaching strictly better.
Yeah, I would almost never play. I mean, it's always 1 life. I would say, if you, as long as you can afford the colorless land, then yeah, I'm 100% playing War Room over Castle Lochthwain.
I think there's worlds where you want to play both. There's probably decks that want that. But I think you never want Castle Lochthwain over War Room in mono black.
That's completely fair. And the last 2 cuts are 2 Relentless Rats.
Sorry, Rats.
Yeah, we just needed more lands. It was too important to this deck. We could not have this high of a mana value, average mana value for our deck, and not play 36 lands at least. So we added in, over the Relentless Rats, Takenuma, the Abandoned Mire, freest roll of all time. Amazing.
Staple.
Absolute staple of the format. And Malika Rebirth, another MDFC. This one I really like for this deck because Marrow is a 5-mana commander that we don't want to be paying for over and over again.
It's going to protect it.
Good way to protect it.
Yeah, I mean, and Takenuma also can protect our commander. It's like, oh, you killed it? Great. Get it back.
Yeah, put it in the graveyard.
So hopefully these changes are going to help sort of steer the deck towards the power level you always want, where like if this is the range, you're going to stick more in the range where everybody's kind of knows what to expect and you're having fun, versus like sometimes you jump up out of nowhere and just take everybody out in 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think this is more of a... So you sent us a deck that was a Relentless Rat deck with filled with staples and good cards that didn't necessarily need to win through Relentless Rats. It kind of just did whatever it wanted.
Had rats.
It just had rats in it. Now, I think this deck is a Relentless Rats deck. This is what a Relentless Rat deck... If I was building a Relentless Rats deck, this is what I would want it to look like. So a quick rundown of the stats. Our budget, we didn't have a budget, but we spent $164. Damn, we're good.
How do we nail that budget every time?
We've
never failed.
We've never not made the budget. The original average mana value of this deck was 3.63. Cut that all the way down to 3.28. And I don't think you can, like I said, it's nearly impossible to go below 3 with how many Relentless Rats are in this deck.
I would challenge anyone to do that. I mean, you could build a Relentless Rats deck that's a combo deck that doesn't care, that just has 30 dead cards in it. We're not doing that.
Yeah, that's not what we're doing. And the total changes, 23 overall changes to the deck. Very happy with how this one came out.
It's high considering we could really only change like 35 cards maximum.
I really hope that you like this deck, Pool Party. But that is our video. Special shout-outs to every single one of our patrons. We love you all as much as we can without making you uncomfortable.
Great. You can go to the TCGplayer link if you don't want to be uncomfortable, but you want to support the nerds with buying cards you were going to buy anyway. So what happens is you get on your computer, which you're hopefully already on, navigate to the description, which is in the description box below. Click the link, buy cards normally like you would on the site. But because you started with the link earlier, when you check out, TCGplayer just throws money at us and we catch it. It's like one of those two booths you get in and you catch the money.
I will say that you said hopefully they're on their computer. It's most likely that they're not, based on just the analytics. That
we have the stats. We know what you're doing right now. You're on the toilet.
They're on their phone. They're on their iPads, and like fifth down is their computer. I think it's like third, actually.
Everyone's pooping right now.
Everyone's pooping, watching the Nitpicking Nerds. We're the greatest poop content in the universe.
We got to start plugging that more.
I think
people would really appreciate
how good our poop content is.
If you have to poop, this is the magic channel to put on.
Yeah,
Who else is saying that?
We're perfect for dads, actually, because dads take the 30 to 40 minute poops.
They do.
Perfect length videos for you dads.
Yeah, don't turn on like a how to build a shed. You're not going to build a shed in your backyard. It's not happening. You're going to put it off. You're going to put it off forever. Here's a rat deck.
They are going to build a commander deck, though. So come on, dads. We got you.
If this didn't take up the tidbit, I don't know what did.
Well,
we got to shout out Dragon Shield.
Yeah, dragonshield.com is the other way you can support us. Go there. EU and US. EU and US links in the description below. Buy the magic cards, or not the magic cards. Nope. Buy the sleeves you're going to buy anyway. And guess what? They're the best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
They're so good.
Really killing it with this outro.
We honestly love Dragon Shields. We use them at every one of our decks.
I think we covered the tidbit about our lives. It's spread the word that this is the pooping magic channel. This is the channel to listen to on your phone. when you're in the bathroom.
Well, I guess if the tidbit about our life, so it's actually
was it.
Well, so it's actually about us a little bit instead of just being a channel.
Fine.
Well,
Whatever.
They want to know about us a little bit. So so my poop thing is
God.
TikTok right now. Just when I'm on the toilet, I'm watching TikTok. What do you do?
I can't stay on TikTok. I think it's like a black hole for my life. And I'll watch the ones you send, and I'm moving it on my home screen so I don't go on every day. Like, I don't want to go on my For You page. But I'm on Clash Royale for about like 7 to 9 minutes. Realistically, if I wasn't on my phone, I would be done in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's that.
BZ, it's a black hole for time for BZ to watch TikTok. But Clash Royale, that's not a black hole. That's something else.
No, whenever I'm done with TikTok, I don't feel good about it. When I'm playing like a phone game or something stupid, it's like, all right, like I'll get done, like, oh, I won or I lost. It's like, okay, move on with my life. But TikTok is way harder to stop, like factually, because they literally like hook you with the endless loop. And also when I'm done, I'm like, I just spent an hour doing what? I could have just not watched any of that and been the same.
Just entertainment. It's like watching anything. I don't really think of it any different from watching a TV show, watching a YouTube video, listening to music, all of that. I mean, playing
all of that stuff though, you seek out.
Playing Clash Royale, it's all the same.
I don't know. I don't want to get into this forever, but you seek all that stuff out and you know what you're getting. But TikTok is just like, what do you have for me? And not all of it is what you want to see.
I mean, but that feels like an extremely arbitrary line.
Well, it feels like it's like the difference between watching a TV show and channel surfing, where you hit the next channel like every 1 minute.
Well, yeah, but that's how it's just 1 minute content, and like it's made for you. I mean, my TikTok at this point, because I use TikTok enough, is almost always something I like. It's every
cute baby. Joe loves cute babies.
Cute babies, cute cats, funny like trolls,
just meme nonsense.
A lot of just cool, nice people on there. I enjoy the app. It's like 1 out of 10 now is ones I don't like. Whereas before, when I first started the app, it's like 1 out of 10 is one I like. But hey, it's cultivated for you.
We can save this.
We're
not sponsored by TikTok.
The algorithm works on TikTok. Yeah. Peace out, Tribe Scouts.